Hello, my name is Josiah S. Cooper. The channel you're watching this on is probably Evolus Annihilus. I want to explain why I am an anti-natalist. Please stop the video if you think I'm going to, just say the usual arguments that you may have heard. This is more based on intuition. So, this is my life. This is why I would think this way. Not necessarily just because the argument says so. This is why I am an anti-natalist. So obviously, I've had experience in life. Took me a long time. My first Inmendum video was in 2012, maybe February. It wasn't about antinatalism, but I could pretty much tell right away that he was someone I would probably watch a lot. So that happened. Early 2012, I think. Who knows how it would have been if I learned about it when I was still in high school. But I dropped out of high school by then. It was the last semester, but I dropped out early and got a GED. Around in April, I made an unlisted video on the Vloggerdome website. It never really got much, I suppose, much feedback at that time. But I eventually made it public on my main channel. As my name. It wasn't about antinatalism, it was more just a platform for me to make that video, which I made it the day of I got the GED. Anyways, sorry, it's kind of irrelevant. It's just some history. So for me, the reasons are more intuitive rather than entirely logic-based. So the argument goes, for me, this is how I understand it, is that there's a net sum of a negative net sum in the universe, because of suffering. And I went with this argument for a long time, but I don't think it works quite as well anymore. Just from some things I think are technically flawed. Technically, I don't think it's a flawed argument that you should take consciousness seriously. I think you should take consciousness seriously. It's your entire context for life. It's serious. It's everything. I just don't, it's just in a technical manner where you're saying there's this negative net sum because of consciousness in the universe. So it's not just in consciousness, it's affecting the universe. And so I don't think that can be argued. Consciousness is only illusory. It's one hell of an illusion, as I've heard Inmendum say. But if it's merely an illusion, you can't technically argue that it's affecting anything besides the experience. The experience is what's bad. I don't think it can be argued though that it's, there's this thing in the universe because of it. Then that would be more like it is something, right? You would have to say it's kind of like it is something. It's not just an illusion. Does that make sense? I don't have a problem with that if that were the case, but I don't see yet a reason to assume that or say that. But I do think suffering is very, very real, very bad. I do think that, just from my own personal experience. And for a while, I was kind of in line with, you know, the subjective stuff before I really got into antinatalism, you know, maybe around 2013, late 2013, when I finally started getting into antinatalism myself. But it took me a while to kind of just accept that suffering was bad, because, you know, I was just, you know, I hadn't really experienced much badness myself until I started feeling more and more that what I loved in my life was disappearing, and, you know, life is kind of this dreadful thing, because even health does not guarantee happiness. In fact, it can make you hate your life even more, because you're obligated to do things you don't want to do because you have the health, you have the power, and it's this great burden. So I don't want people to think that, you know, being positive is anything but difficult. It's not something that creates happiness necessarily at all, in my experience. I had to deal with being on medication. It took me, it's been about a year now that I've been off. And if you know anything about what I had to go through to be here, just to be me right now, it's insane. So the point is, it's insane just to be what I want to be. It's insane. The stuff you have to do just to be how you want to be is insane. And maybe it's not for you, because maybe you don't have a tall order. Maybe you don't have a ghost you're competing with. Maybe you don't have an ideal you don't really want, but, you know, you feel makes sense anyways. So I've personally been dealing with lots of bullshit. And so I have to express that, you know, and in turn take the bullshit other people express, if I express it myself. It's a price of freedom. I don't know if I'm making any sense, I'm sorry. It's probably a big mess of a video. A very big mess. It's very difficult to talk about it for me. Anyways, we could talk about history. I kind of had a fascination with red buttons before I ever knew about antinatalism. I had such a fascination that I would, you know, I would think of ways I could make reality disappear. You know, energy and matter disappear or be obliterated in a sense. Just this existence itself to be obliterated. That was kind of my fascination for a while, just to have that realization and make everything just disappear. And if you know anything about me, you'll maybe know something about that. But even before all this, I love the idea of just something that is so antithetical to even existence, let alone life itself. I love that. That is me. So, yeah, I mean, I had a lot of time on my hands to watch videos, so I am very fortunate, and I have that advantage. It's also a disability if you want to look at it that way. You know, I'm not very productive otherwise. I'm not very productive at all. In fact, maybe I'm quite useless. Yeah. But obviously, if I didn't have all that time on my hands, I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't have made all those videos. I wouldn't have know the things I know. So you can look at that Either way you want to look at it. I suppose the hope out of all of this is if you're crazy enough, you can get some pleasure out of cleaning up messes, quote unquote. You can get some pleasure out of destroying what you hate. You can get some pleasure out of, removing knives in the world. You can get pleasure out of, just stopping this bullshit that we live, or I live. You can get pleasure out of it. That's the hope, is that you can get pleasure out of cleaning up all of this. That's the hope. I can get pleasure out of cleaning up bullshit. Yeah, that's really it. Maybe it doesn't seem like hope to you because maybe you have a higher standard. Maybe you aren't at this level. Maybe you have no idea what that's like. And, it's crazy. Why would you do that? Who cares, right? But what am I going to do here? What am I even supposed to do here? Except correct you or correct myself. It'd be better if I correct myself first, so that my existence is a correction in and of itself to the world around me. Be what I want to see. If I want to see people have less kids, I should have less kids myself and encourage other people to have less kids. If I want to see the world empty and barren, I should be the catalyst for that, in whatever way is most effective for that end. If I want to see less suffering, I should invest in things that heal and provide health and wellness in the world, and not just prevention, because I think if you get obsessed with prevention, I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyways, it's not just about prevention, it's about being healthy as well, even if you hate it. That's what I'm saying. Prevention is good. It's just don't get obsessed with one side of the thing, one side of the coin, whatever you want to call it. And I suppose I could talk about things I had to deal with. Thankfully, it's a lot better now. It's very easy. Once you've had all these things going on in your head and if you have like a mental history of neurosis or psychosis or something like that, like I do, or have at least. Yeah, same thing, whatever. I had to deal with being obsessed with preventing anything I could. This is about a year ago, starting off, when I was getting off the medication, obviously, so things got ramped the fuck up. I would be afraid of opening the door. Like, I would have to open it correctly every time, and if I opened it too quick, I'd feel so guilty that, maybe I would hit, my cat or my brother's dog that was outside the door or something. And I would get obsessed with like small things like this. Can you see anything wrong with this object? Maybe to most people you won't see anything wrong with it. But to me, I was like, maybe the ink on it is not vegetable based. So my mind loved doing that. It would delve into the details, and unless I fixed those details, I could not move on. I could not move on. So don't underestimate your own brain's ability to screw itself over and miss the bigger picture, because that's what matters, is the bigger picture. Don't get drowned in what they're saying or what you did. Even if you fucked up, just move on. You gotta move on, because if you just get stuck in the details, we're gonna be stuck here over and over. We gotta focus on being what we want to see in the world, even if that what we want to see is absolutely nothing, essentially, ultimately. I don't know, it sounds crazy, but to me it makes sense. This is what I've learned. It's not just looking at what other people are doing and criticizing them. It's about criticizing yourself as well, and learning that you may never be good enough. Maybe you are a bad person, but acknowledge that and feel that and think what you think and feel what you feel. But what really matters is what you do, right? You can feel things, you can be afraid, you can be anxious, you can think horrible things that don't make any sense to the context. My brain loves doing this. It's a challenge, right? But what you do, how you react to this bullshit, is what matters most. Because if I just react, if I just say, fuck you, it's not going to accomplish anything. Sure, maybe it'll get some people on your side, but do we want to just tear each other apart, essentially? Or do we want to convince each other? Do we want to share our knowledge? Do we want to encourage logical thinking rather than, ridicule and berating necessarily? I'm not saying it's not useful. It is useful in some sense. But is that what we want? Is that our goal? Do we want to just wage war mentally, emotionally? Because we can't literally just pick up guns and start shooting. And, there's no red button right here that I can just slam. Thank you for watching. I hope this was not nearly as insane as maybe you think it is. Sorry, my phone. Yeah. Anyways, this is just a taste. And of course, I can always go in detail, but that's the big picture. And I'll stop the video right now if